Welcome. Today we're going to work on the 4 foundational movements that are essential to any yoga practice. The 4 foundational movements are squatting, pushing, pulling, and twisting. So today we are going to focus just on those movements within our practice and building a practice only around those movements and honing in, creating a balance of those movements and milking them for what they are is going to develop your yoga practice. It's going to develop any movement-based practice that you do, whether it's surfing, running, or even CrossFit. These 4 foundational movements are what will play a pivotal role in you excelling further in your practice, whatever that practice looks like for you. So again, the 4 movements are squatting, pushing, pulling, and twisting. So to move through those, come to the top of the mat and come kind of midway through the mat. And we're going to work first on squatting. So as you come to the top of the mat, we're going to take the feet about 6 or so inches apart, so half a foot apart, and you're going to take the feet slightly into an external rotation, so the toes slightly turn out. And the first movement we're going to work on is squatting. And so for squatting, we want to keep the head lifting, and we're going to sink all the way down into a squat. Now, it may not be possible to sink this far, so you may have to come up onto your toes. It's okay, it's a great modification. And then we're going to come up. So that movement is the squat. That's essential to all movement-based practices. And so we're going to slow this movement down. So what I want you to think about doing is bending the knees slowly and taking your time, moving all the way down. So here you're trying to think about the head staying lifted, sinking further, paying attention to where the knees and how they move over the feet. Continuing to sink down. Now your shins may be active, sinking even further, finding this balance. If you're shaking, it's a good sign. Taking your time, coming all the way down, as low as you possibly can. So not only is this building strength in the quads, but it's developing all sorts of other muscles. Now we're going to work on coming back up. So from your squat, again, that same action. I'm just going real slow. Finding that point of failure, that point of burnout. Again, the head is staying lifting, and you're trying to go through these movements slowly. Seeing where your hips are shifting over the feet. The knees are staying in the same direction as the feet. Coming back up. Boom. Okay. That's the first movement. So you can incorporate that into your Surya Namaskara Bs when you're moving through the squat position there. You can move through and try and take it as slow as possible. That's squatting. The second movement that we're going to work on is pulling. And we think of a push-up a lot of times as like this pushing up position. But the first instinct of a push-up is to actually pull yourself forward. So now we're going to work on pulling. And this sensation, we set up, if you need to, keep the knees on the floor, because it's going to be a lot of weight. Otherwise, you can have the knees lifted off the ground. And the idea is that you're going to be pulling yourself forward towards the push-up. lowering the hips down. The shoulders stay down the back. So if you need to, keep the knees down, and you're going to pull yourself forward. Looks easy. We're going to take it really, really slow. So I'll show you first with the knees down. We're going to do this twice. So the knees stay down, and we take about 5 breaths, keeping the shoulders pulling down the back, keeping the hands trying to pull back towards the hips. Slowly lowering down, all the way, belly touches. Shoulders stay pulling back. Okay, so that's one. If you want to make it more challenging, you keep the knees lifted and you pull yourself over. Taking 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 4, 5. Awesome. So the next movement is pushing. So we're going to work first with the knees down, and we're going to push, 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 push. Good. So that's pushing, and push the heart through the scapula. Okay. We're going to try that again with the knees lifted this time. So here we go. Pushing, 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 and up. Awesome. Okay, the last movement we are going to look at is twists. And twists are essential for all your Marichasana C's, the twisting or rotating triangle, Trikonasana B. What you may need is a block for this case where you can sit up on the block, because it may not be possible to sit on the heels or even sit between the legs. So wherever you're at, if it's too much on the knees, you can also do this sitting on a chair. So obviously be up a little bit higher, and you can do it from a chair. However, if you're on a mat, it's the way I'm going to be teaching it today. So you're either sitting on a block, sitting on the heels, or all the way down. Now, there's one side that's going to be tighter than the other side. And so if you're generally tight twisting to the right, I want you to start on that side. Or if you're generally tight twisting to the left, you're going to start on that side. So pick a side, and we're going to stay on that side a little bit longer than on the other side, which is why I want to balance out this twisting for you. If this is something that you're balanced on both sides, which is highly unlikely but possible, then you can switch kind of halfway through. What I want you to do here is tuck the tailbone down. So whether you're sitting on a chair or a block, you're pulling down the pelvis so it's rotating underneath. By doing that, I also want you to scoop in the belly, so suck in the stomach as if like you're starving. And keeping that stomach pulled in, the tailbone tucked down, it protects the spine. And so anytime you enter into a twist, I want you to be pulling in the stomach to pull this closer together to rotate through the upper thoracic part, because the low back, the lumbar spine, should not take the deep part of the twist. The deep part of the twist needs to be coming from the thoracic and the scapula area. So to protect that, you're going to pull the stomach in, keeping the stomach pulled in, the tailbone tucked. You're going to twist off to the side. And so it's going to look a little bit like this. Eventually, you may be able to get the elbow to the outside of the knee, or you get down further. But from here, keep the stomach pulling in, keep the tailbone tucking down. You can pull back with the shoulder to take yourself a little bit deeper into the twist. Keeping this twist active, so really active in the stomach muscles. So this is going to be about the halfway point. If you're tighter on one side, you can stay a little bit longer, or you can stay throughout the entire thing. If you're fairly balanced, you're going to come up, and you're going to take the same twist on the opposite side. So the tailbone stays, tucking under, stomach stays, pulling in, like a belt is pulling around the waist. Keeping this pull back action, enter the twist. Keeping the stomach pulled in. Keeping the tailbone tucking down. Awesome. Okay. The last sort of a bonus, you do it in a yoga class anyway, but because your knees might be sore, we're going to finish everything out by taking the feet as wide as the mat, finding an inner rotation in the legs so the heels are wider apart than the big toes. Keep the quadriceps active and tip the weight forward towards the toes. So with the weight in the toes, you're hinging, keeping the quads back, trying to press through the inner thighs towards the back of the room, but you keep the weight in the toes. So you may need the hands down as support to help keep the weight into the toes, because if you come back onto the elbows and you just hang here, you might be tipping the weight too far back towards the heels. So I want to keep the weight in the toes. Keep the legs strong, quadriceps active, kneecaps lift, inner rotation. I'm trying to stretch out through the back of the legs, back through the hamstrings. It even comes up into the low back up here by keeping this inner rotation. Hang out here for just a little bit longer, but this finishes out the sequence. There's 4 main movements that you need to deepen your yoga practice. I want to thank you guys so much for showing up today, for showing up for your practice. You guys are fantastic. See you on the mat next time.